Well.
Do you have notes from last time?
Yes, I do.
I do have those, yeah.
I haven't been able to sit down and take data notes either, so if you have any of those.
Are the testing those out? Are the testing those out?
What?
It's online. Yeah. I'm in that group chat. The test those out.
What?
The test those out.
Did the test close out
Are the test results out?
For what?
for the essay? No.
Oh, I forgot y'all did that today.
Last one ever. Last one ever.
Martin, are you gonna win anything tomorrow at the awards ceremony?
Probably. Hopefully.
Wait, A honor?
No, it's like
JOCC.
Oh.
Yeah.
so like, are you gonna stay after school, or are you gonna go home and come back?
I kind of have to stay after school because I'm pretty sure I do the national anthem.
I think I'm gonna just stay after school too. There's no point in me going home for like an hour and then coming back.
Oh wait.
What?
Okay. Is it 133? Coming back to practice after like 2 weeks is kind of rough.
Oh,
Did you start on this assignment?
every
The
single time.
Smith assignment? Did you start on that? What?
Yesterday we did Hawaiian work.
Dude, I low-key don't even know what he's asking for, bro.
Whoa.
I wanted to shave body.
I know, I'm confused too.
I'm waiting for someone to finish that bit and give it to me.
Alright guys, good afternoon, happy Wednesday. Yes, if you have notes on current and a little bit of voltage action, I'll check those and we'll start right into our lesson today.
I also uploaded the video from last class.
What's your channel called?
I don't know. I forgot.
Why'd you forget the name of your own channel?
I didn't change it. Just whatever name they gave me.
Where's that?
Yeah, they changed it from Saturday to Sunday. It's a fucking Sunday. We have like 5 weeks.
So it's Old Taco? Is that south or north?
No. 3 hours in Jackson.
I think that's north.
I got to both classes, even though we had small classes. There was still enough to,
Yeah, that one top team.
yeah, whatever. The AI generators that were
We had a flexing challenge.
A flexing
Yeah,
challenge?
we all had. Who's the most small?
Yeah, go for it.
If we don't play off, we're gonna do it.
I can't.
I would tell them to fry my.
It was funny though.
Let's do it.
Because one of the guys, Aiden,
No.
one of the guys,
Lousy.
Oh.
his arms are like really skinny and he does not have muscle in his arms at all.
Coming right up.
And he kept trying to do it.
All
and it
right,
was
our
like
dad joke for today.
bump.
On this fine hump day.
Hump?
Hump day, Wednesday. Like, over the hump of the week.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Not the other kind.
Oh,
Get your mind out of the.
Whoa, I didn't even think
That
that.
was him.
I was not thinking that.
Alright.
I was thinking like a camel or something.
That's what I was thinking.
I am going to stand outside my RV. So if anyone asks, I'm outstanding.
Yo, it's getting less funny. Some of them were good at the beginning of the year.
There's somebody out of school.
Absolutely.
10 out of 10 consistently. They don't take pictures. Me and Jared just found out about it. He doesn't take pictures.
You right now. How many questions have gotten you right to get a level 3?
Not a lot. Actually,
Although,
I mean,
I think this
basic
piano
understanding
should
is
last.
No,
Because, like,
No,
if you
no.
get hit by a player and
I'm already gonna get level 3.
she does, kind of.
and then when I'm getting hit by a piano,
No, you should have to look at this.
Max. Max.
I'm thinking if I just pick A.
but I like it, I like it.
You just need really 40.
That's a good one.
Right.
Well, no.
If we pick A.
25.
Alright guys, let's jump right in.
That's like the max amount of like random.
So we are starting our final
Oh, yeah,
chapter of the quarter and the year here. We are going back to our IB packet, talking about circuits to wrap things up. Yes. So just a reminder, if you still have not taken our quiz from last class on Central Mass stuff, that quiz is still open until midnight tonight. Yes. And the quiz for today is already up. So for those of you who like to jump into things, jump away.
Are we doing this? B5.1.
All right. I'm so excited about Dry Bash on Friday.
You gotta skip the lines.
Teachers do, yes. Yes.
Wait, y'all get to skip the line?
Yeah. It's a yeah. Nice try.
And so many teachers now, so the lines are quick.
How do they know that you're a teacher?
We have special wristbands.
What if I just go ask?
Yo, I'm bringing scissors
What
and
did you
glue
want?
tape.
Ask for a special wristband.
Joy, no one's willing to
They won't give it to you.
I don't think no one's willing to believe it. I'm not gonna believe it. You gotta look visibly old.
Just
You
bring, like,
could
$100
definitely.
Okay, so
in the
You feel like you paid insurance, pay a mortgage, have 2 kids.
No, I graduated really early and I wanted to.
I know you got ability.
I look physically young.
Usually for normal park days,
I'm
yes.
15.
But not for Dry It's a special case.
You look 60, I'm not gonna lie.
And we also get like free
look
like
60.
Bro, don't do that to the outlet.
places
It's
and
not even
stuff.
metal.
I look 15.
Huh?
I think aluminum's in there.
Yeah.
I look
we haven't started doing
You look like you got bills.
I can bet you that.
Perks of being a chaperone.
Yo, John.
Huh?
I'm not.
I ain't risking it.
You're like insurance benefit, but
Science.
keep that
Yeah.
to
Except,
That's
yeah, they would
I
definitely
think I'm gonna report you be like, yo, this kid is actually 25. He doesn't act
ask for
like-
some
That's
ID.
what I'm looking for.
Because, so technically, the DCPS rules for being chaperones on field trips, like my Busch Gardens trip, is you have to be 21. But for Grab Bash, it's actually 24. So, even like my adult kids who have, you know, they're like, yeah, I want to go. They can't go yet, so. Not for like 5 years. So. Bella.
So like any chaperone, like you don't have to be a teacher, just like if you're a chaperone, you get those perks.
Yes, although most of our chaperones happen to be teachers. We do have a few spouses and spices that are going as well. Like girlfriend, boyfriend, fiance. Yeah.
Spices.
Yeah. Spouses and spices.
That's actually kind of fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's like fun. That's cool.
So,
I've never heard that
yes,
before.
so all of the chaperones that are adults that are either DCPS employees or approved through the DCPS chaperone system, they are allowed to go and they get the perks. So, yeah, Riley.
So what if a chaperone decides to like let you skip the line with them?
The staff won't allow you to do that because they check everybody's wristband.
That's not nice.
Now, so there's a special, like let's say that you have special accommodations, like either like with the physical or the mental side of things, you have like a documentation that allows you to have special access like that. There is a way that you could get your own special wristband. It's a completely different color, but those people would be allowed through the quick queue lines. But it is a lengthy process. It's not something that you could try to do like the night of. Like you have to do that months in advance. There's an official system that you have to register with and say like why you need these accommodations, and you get a special card, and then I send your information in with the grad bash stuff, and then they send us the special wristbands. So it is possible, like for people in wheelchairs, or like you can't walk around well or something like that. But it has to be like officially documented things. They don't just give those special wristbands to anybody who says, "Oh yeah, I sprained my ankle last week." Yeah, no, they're not going to do that. So, but there are accommodations for those students who actually need them. So,
Do teacher chaperones have to pay?
nope, completely free. Yeah.
And what about like the people they bring?
They are free too.
Oh,
Just bring everyone.
so all the teachers must be like, oh, how are you?
I mean, you would think that they would be pounding on my door asking me to come, but I had to ask people.
What's the worst thing that happened at Grad Bash?
So, I've been going to Grad Bash, so this is my 20th year here at Paxson. I've been going to Grad Bash maybe like 15 of those years. I took a break there, and during my break, so I did not experience this personally, but on one of the years that I did not go, so our bus company decided to, and this is definitely against the rules, but they took another job during the night. So they dropped us off, and the chaperones and students, like they all left stuff on the bus as they were expecting to, but then there was a whole nother group of people on those buses, and they stole stuff. And so when we loaded the buses at 2:30 in the morning, and we realized that, hey, we've got stuff missing, then of course, like, we called the cops, and it was a whole big issue. I don't think they left Orlando until like 5 or 6 a.m., which is when we're supposed to be back. And yeah, it was a big fiasco. So that was the worst thing that has happened. Our kids are pretty good. Like, they behave. I've never had an issue with a student like getting caught by the Grad Bash police because they're trying to skip lines, or they got into a restricted space or something like that. Our kids are good. So I don't foresee any problems with this year too. But yeah, that was the worst thing. The second worst thing happened actually on my watch, and it was a couple of years ago. And the bus drivers, once we got to Universal, like, they didn't give us a heads up. They said, "Oh, you can't leave your stuff on the bus. Like, there are gonna be different drivers and different buses." I'm like, no, but they were, yeah, so we had to collect all of our stuff, and like, that included all of our backpacks that we'd expected to leave, and like our extra jackets and stuff, and neck pillows and things like that. And so thankfully we were able to, they have a place at Universal. It's like when you stay at a resort and you like buy something in the park, and then you give it to the people, and then you can pick it up later, or they send it to your room or something like that. So basically that kind of place. And so we were able to, at the last minute, and it took an hour out of our time, but we were able to drop our stuff off, and so so that we wouldn't have to carry everything around the park, because you're not allowed to bring like backpacks onto the rides. You have to put them in lockers and stuff, and we didn't expect to do that because we were hoping to leave stuff on the bus, and yeah, so that was so those are the two worst things, at least I am remembering, at least for Paxton. I'm sure that other schools have other horror stories about the things happening. It is possible that if you are bad enough and you get arrested, we'll leave you in Orlando, and your parents have to come get you. Like, we're not staying, because technically chaperones don't have the authority or the power to actually get you out of jail. Like, your parents are the ones that have to do that. So if you get arrested, see ya. Good luck. So, but so far, knock on wood, nothing like that has happened to our Grad Bash kids, because most of our kids are good. All right.
Wait till I get there.
Huh? All right, so let's get started into physics. Okay, so we are in the B5 chapter here, B5, and we're talking about electric current, which is really the flow of charge. So if you read the sections, it kind of started with the review of charge. So when we're talking about electric current, it is the flow of charge. So imagine we have a wire here, and the charges are flowing through the wire. That gives us this current. Is there somebody at my door? Was there a knock? No? Okay, cool. Now, so originally, when we as humanity, back in the 1800s, I think, when we were discovering all of the cool things with circuits and current through wires and things like that, we didn't know where the charges actually came from. So we hadn't discovered that the positive charges are from the protons, and they're inside the nucleus, and the negative charges are on the electrons, which are kind of on the outside, and the electrons are easily movable around either within the atoms or actually in a metal as a conductor. So we didn't know all that when we were initially doing our circuit stuff. So we just assumed that the current was the flow of positive charge. Okay, so assuming positive charges are flowing through the wire, that was the original idea. And then many, many moons later, we found out, oh snap, it's really not the positive charges that are moving at all, it's actually the electrons, the negatively charged things, and they're moving in the opposite direction, okay? But at that point, so much had been done with our circuits that we just said, you know what, let's just keep it how we originally thought. So we call this the conventional current, okay? The flow of positive charge, where we actually know what's really happening. It's the flow of electrons in the opposite direction. But for all of our questions about where our current is flowing, we always consider conventional current, the flow of positive charge. Cool. All right. So let's jump right in. So our first equation for current, we have our I. I don't know who picked I for current. It wasn't me. Don't ask. Okay. But I stands for current, and this is going to be the, so it looks like, if you look at the equation, it's going to be the change of charge over the change in time, which is kind of weird because the charge isn't actually changing, but rather the charge is flowing. So it's kind of more like the rate at which the charges are moving through the wire here, okay? So imagine we had like a counter, okay, on this wire, and it counted how many charges passed that line per second. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about current, okay? It's kind of like sometimes you see on a road, there's gonna be a little black line that you roll over. Those are car counters, okay? Same deal. You're counting the number of cars that pass in a certain amount of time to find out how busy the road is, and like, if they need to fix it, if they need to expand the number of lanes, blah, blah, blah. It's a way to get data, okay? So the current is really the flow of charge, how much charge passes in a certain amount of time, okay? If we were to look at the units here, current is measured in amperes, or amps for short. Big A is the symbol. So 1 ampere of current is going to be equal to 1 coulomb per second. That's what the units actually mean. 1 coulomb is actually a large amount of charge, so 1 ampere is a large amount of current. Cool. All right, so then let's say that we're going to try to light a light bulb. Okay, we take a battery, we get some wires, we get a light bulb, and we're trying to make the light bulb light. Okay, so let's take a 9-volt battery. Okay, so 9-volt battery, that's not a V. There we go, 9-volt battery. Naturally, all of the batteries have 2 sides, positive and negative. Based on the device, it matters which way you put it. So in most cases, it actually matters. If you put it in backwards, it doesn't work due to other circuitry stuff that we can talk about later. Okay, so we've got a battery, and let's say we have a light bulb in a base. Okay, so here's our light bulb, like that. And it's got 2 points of contact that are metal on the base here. So the idea is we want to make a complete loop or a closed circuit here. So I'm going to take one of my wires, attach it to one side, and then we're going to put it to one side of the lamp or the light bulb. Now, it's important to know that the current has to flow through the device, not just to the device. Okay, it has to flow through, which means that there's an in and there's an out. Okay, same thing with the 9-volt here. Both of the sides, both the positive and the negative, have to be involved. The current has to flow through the device. So I have to use another wire hitting the other side of the battery. Now, if I were to hit it on this side, both of these are being used, but it goes to the same point. It doesn't actually make it flow through the light bulb at that point. It doesn't work. It's not a closed circuit. It basically bypasses the light. It doesn't work, and those wires are going to get super, super hot. Okay, so I'm going to take my wire and attach it to this side. Bing! That's lit.
Huh.
Yes. So notice if we follow the path here, this is one loop, one closed loop, one closed circuit. Okay. If I were to take off the wire here, then the light bulb turns off because there's a gap. Okay, we've got an open circuit. So I need a closed circuit in order for the current to flow, like so. All right, now, this is kind of like a real life picture. We're gonna learn how to draw a circuit diagram using special circuit symbols in your equation sheets. If you flip back a couple of pages towards the front side, we have almost a full page of cool circuit symbols, okay? A couple of them. So we've got a cell and a battery. They're basically the same thing. You can use them interchangeably. In fact, a battery is kind of like multiple cells added together. Just like if you actually take apart a 9-volt battery, there's actually 6 AAAs inside of it. Yeah, it is. So a cell versus a battery, it doesn't actually matter which one you use. You'll see both of them in problems. They are synonymous, okay? Now, notice that there's a long side and a short side. As we connect these to the other parts using wires, the long side is always positive, the short side is always negative. So that's how we tell which side is which on the battery or cell. So I'm going to use my new circuit symbol to draw a circuit diagram of the real life circuit that we have drawn here. All right, so I'm going to just use one of these here. Here's my cell. So I'm going to, now this is a very simple circuit. It only has 2 things, and we're going to connect them with wires. The wires will be just straight lines, okay? And then we've got a light bulb or a lamp as well. That lamp symbol looks like the X-Men symbol. It's a circle with the X in the middle here. Okay, so, and then those are the wires that connect off of it. So that's gonna be a lamp. Another version of a lamp, so this is the IV version of a lamp. The AT version, honor, this is wherever else in the world you are, they'll have a symbol that kind of looks like that. So that is also another accepted version of a lamp or light bulb symbol, okay? All right, so here we go. Now, I'm gonna make this look very nice and neat. My wires are gonna look like a rectangle, okay? So I'm gonna kind of drop them down like that, and drop them down like that, and then I'm gonna put my lamp right here. Here's my lamp, and they're all connected. And at this point, my light bulb lights, ding, because we've got a closed circuit. I could, in essence, let's say that we don't want the light on all the time. Let's put in a switch, okay? So if I put in a switch, the switch is going to look like this. At this point, it's open. The switch is open, which means the light bulb is not lit, okay? That's like when you go into a room and the lights are off, the switch is in the off position, but that's actually the open position because there's no current flowing because the circuit is broken. Once you turn that light switch to the on position, the light comes on because the switch now closes and the current is allowed to flow. There you go. Cool. There are other circuit symbols that we'll talk about in the future, okay? Now, another question is, which way will the current flow? Okay, now, we have to consider conventional current, because whenever we're asked about the direction of the current, we always have to say, okay, where are the positive charges going? Because it's always assumed conventional current. That's not just in high school, that's everywhere. Out in industry, if you become an electrical engineer, your schematics are all based on conventional current, okay? It doesn't change. Okay, so knowing that, there's only two ways for the current to flow here. It's either going to flow in a clockwise fashion, or it's going to flow in a counterclockwise. What do you think?
Clockwise?
Ooh, I have both answers here, okay? Well, let's take a look, okay? Because we're assuming it's the flow of positive charge, and let's assume that there are many, many positive charges all throughout these wires. It's not just in one place, but it's in every place, okay? So now the battery produces a voltage, or there's a separation of charge here, okay? And those charges are actually going to create an electric field inside the wire, okay? So like, if this is the big positive and this is the big negative, then the electric field lines, remember, flow from the positive to the negative. And the force acting on positively charged particles is in the same direction as the field. So all of these positive charges are going to be forced and therefore move in that direction, away from the positive and towards the negative. Same thing happens with when we have a complete circuit. These positive charges are being repelled by the positive side of the battery, so they want to go this way. But not just those, all of them, because the electric field is set up in every part of that wire. So all of these charges are being repelled by the positive side, but also being attracted to the negative side. So as it turns out, in this particular situation, with this drawing how it is, our current is flowing counterclockwise. Okay, but our rule is always the current flows from the positive to the negative side. Just like the electric field lines flow from the positive to the negative. Cool. All right, now, this is a simple circuit because there's only one path, okay? And if I were to measure the current in different parts, I would have to use an ammeter, okay? And an ammeter, A with a circle around it, easy peasy, okay? So it doesn't matter actually where I put my ammeter, but I need to put it in series. We'll talk about how we connect things later, okay? But an ammeter is going to measure the current. Now, it doesn't actually matter where in the circuit I put it. I could put it here, 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 or here. I'm going to measure the same amount of current regardless of position, okay? Because there's only one path, one current. So I'm going to measure the same amount of current both before I hit the lamp and after, because it's the same current, because there's only one path. If we've got multiple paths, then the currents will split. Okay, we'll talk more about that, well, actually right now. So let's do a simple problem here. So it's kind of like a river, right? So you got a big river, and then it splits off, maybe into a slightly larger part, into a slightly smaller part, but all of the water flow is still going to be the same as you add it up, okay? So the amount of water flow from the big river is going to be the same as if you add the two smaller rivers together, okay? So it's kind of like this. If we've got a wire and it hits a junction, okay, a split, there's now multiple paths for the current to flow, okay? And let's say that this is I1, and the current in that branch is I2, and the current in this branch is I3, okay? So let's say that the current I1 flows into the junction, but then I2 flows out of the junction, and I3 flows out of the junction as well. So this is kind of like conservation of charge, where we're not really losing any charge, we're not losing any current, everything has to be conserved, okay? Just because we have a junction here, it doesn't reduce the amount of current, it's just, it splits it, okay? So from this setup, I can write an equation that connects the currents together. So I can say I1, so my one in current has to be equal to my two out currents. Okay, so I1 is equal to I2 plus I3. And I can say that, and I can use that for whatever I need to. Let's say, for example, that one of the currents switches directions. Let's say I2 is now going into the junction. So I'm going to write my new equation in red. So now we've got two in currents and only one out current. In this case, I'm going to say I1 plus I2 is equal to my I3. So the sum of my in currents has to be equal to the sum of my out currents, however many I happen to have. Okay? Because I can't lose any current. It doesn't go down just because there's a split. All right, almost done, almost done. So our last equation here, and which is our next equation in the list here, we've got voltage. So the voltage of the battery, okay, this is going to give us, that's going to produce the electric field that causes the force, that causes the current to actually happen. It's all based on the voltage. You guys know that if you've got a flashlight, but it doesn't work, you check the batteries. And if the batteries are dead, there's no voltage there, or there's not enough voltage, because truly, most of the batteries don't actually drop down to zero, but they'll drop enough, though, that the device doesn't actually work, unless it's within a particular reason. Like let's say that that your device needs like a 1.5 volts, you know, a AA or a AAA battery. It may not work if it drops to 1.3 volts. Okay, it is very much like it's got to be almost full, but once it drops down to a certain spot, the circuit, it needs a certain amount of voltage to work. If it falls below that threshold, it just doesn't work. Even though there's still voltage, there's still charges left in the battery, the device can't actually use it, okay? Which is kind of annoying, but it is what it is. But that's a good reason for getting rechargeables. There you go. Save the environment and all that jazz. Yes. So our last equation here, the voltage or electric potential difference, it's the same thing, is going to be equal to the work done on a charge as it goes from one side of the battery to the other, okay? So it's kind of like if you were to think of a waterfall, okay? Water naturally flows downhill from a part of high potential to a point of low potential. And that's really what's happening here. These charges are going from a high potential, the positive, to the low potential, the end of the battery, or the other side of the battery. So the work that's being done, the work that gravity does in bringing it down, this water, is going to be that same kind of work that the electric field strength does in bringing the charges through the wire. Because we'll learn next class about resistance and how it's not actually easy to move through the wire based on different factors, which we'll talk about next class, okay? But there has to be some work done in moving that charge through that wire to the other side. Granted, the more voltage we have, the greater the amount of work that can do to a particular charge. So if we look at our units here, voltage is going to be in volts, okay? So this is going to be 1 volt is equal to, what are the units of work again? Joules, there we go. So 1 volt is going to be equal to 1 joule per coulomb. There we go. All right, so we only have 2 main equations. We have this kind of third conceptual equation that we kind of make up based on what the problem gives us, but 2 official equations from our equation sheet, and that's about it for today. All right, so feel free to take 5, and then once we come back, then we will work on those pods and quizzes whenever we need to. If you took class notes, I can check them here at my desk. Hold on.
We spent 4 hours.
Hit it.